بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to another episode of our series Safara Al Keram, Tajweed, the art of reciting the Quran. In a very beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ drew forth a parable, drew forth an image describing for us the status of the Quran. It's a very beautiful parable here. The Prophet ﷺ says that Allah has set forth an example, a method, a parable. There is a road which leads straight to the destination. It leads to where you want to go. However, on either side of the road, there is a wall. And in this wall, there are doors with curtains hanging. Curtains hanging from these doors. From the remote end of the road, in other words, from the front of the road, there is a voice that is calling out, "Proceed, come forth, come straight, and don't turn to any side." And whenever someone tries to lift up the curtain, then another voice calls, but this voice calls from above. And that voice says, beware, careful, don't lift the curtain or else you will be lured inside. Don't lift the curtain or else you will fall through into the door. This is the example of a straight path, and it has walls on either side. At the front of the straight path, there is a voice that calls you, guiding you where to go. You know where the path is. And there are curtains hanging to try to divert you. When you try to divert into these curtains, then a voice calls up from above, and it warns you, don't do so, careful. If you open this door, you will fall into it. Then the Prophet ﷺ explained, what is this? He said, the straight path is Islam. This is Islam. The voice that calls from the end of the road is the Quran. It is the Quran that guides you in your life. It will show you the Sirat al-Mustaqim. It will show you the path to Jannah. And the walls are the hudud of Allah. The walls are the limits that Allah has set. This is allowed and this is not allowed. So whoever transgresses from what is allowed into what is not allowed, he has gone into one of these curtains. And the heart, or the voice that calls from above, this is the monitor that Allah has placed in the heart of every believer. In English we call it a conscience. Every single mu'min, when he does something wrong, he knows he's doing something wrong. And he feels guilty for it. This is that conscience. This is the heart. This is the monitor that Allah has placed in the heart of every believer. Beautiful parable here, showing us the status and the blessedness of this holy book of Islam, the book of the Quran, the speech of Allah. If we wish to be guided, all we have to do is to read it, listen to it, and obey it, and we will be guided to the straight path to Jannah. Today's topic of Tajweed involves the solar and lunar letters, al-huruf al-shamsiyya wal-huruf al-qamariyya. Now you will ask, what has astronomy got to do with Tajweed? Absolutely nothing. However, there are certain words or letters, that are called solar letters and others are called lunar letters. Why and what is the purpose of this? Well, let us look at the Arabic words and you will understand what I'm talking about. Notice when I say ash-shams, which is the Arabic word for sun, where is the lam? Silent. Silent. It's not pronounced, right? Ash-shams. However, when I say al-qamar, the Arabic word for moon, can you hear the lam? Yes. This is exactly what the letters that are solar and lunar are. Okay, there's nothing to do with the sun and moon, but it's just that the Arabic word for ash-shams, the lam is silent, and the Arabic word for al-qamar, the lam is not silent. Therefore, there are a number of letters in the Arabic language that when this alif lam, in English we call it the participle, the definite participle, it makes something one. Rajul, it makes something unique. Rajul means a man. Ar-rajul means the man, a particular specific man. So this alif lam is called the definite participle. When it occurs in any noun, then you look at the first letter of that noun. If the first letter is from the letters of the sun, you call it al-huruf al-shamsiyya, this means that the lam will be what? Silent. And if the first word of that noun is of the letters of the moon, then the lam will be pronounced. Okay. Now there is a simple phrase that the scholars have derived for the qamari letters, and anything that's not in this phrase, any letter that's not in this phrase, you consider it to be a solar letter. Okay. It's just hamza, ba, ghain, ha, jim, kaf, waw, kha, fa, ayn, qaf, ya, mim, and ha. And the scholars have mixed them all up to get this phrase here, ibghi hajjaka wa khif aqimahu. Okay? It doesn't mean anything, it's just that you're supposed to say this over and over again until you memorize the qamari or the solar letters. Okay? Notice that this only applies to the alif lam. It doesn't mean that any lam that occurs before any of these letters will be silent. No. Only the alif lam that occurs before them, the alif lam participle, only this lam. Not any lam in the Qur'an. Only this particular lam, it will be considered to be silent. So, you have to memorize this. This is absolutely essential that you memorize these letters, because if you don't memorize them, you're going to make mistakes in when to make the lam silent and when to pronounce it. Once you memorize it, anything not on this list is considered to be of the solar letters. And actually, alhamdulillah, most of the Muslims, when they start learning to recite the Qur'an, they are taught this from a very early age, so they know it. And after a while, it becomes second nature. It is something which is ingrained in a person who learns how to read Arabic. So alhamdulillah, this is not a difficult rule. This is a very easy one. And we'll try to implement it along with all of our previous rules as well. Remember, we're going to build from our episodes. So we'll try to implement this along with the other rules in reciting Surah Al-Shams, if you will recite along with me. Surah Al-Shams wa Shamsi wa Duhaha, which is surah number 91 in the Qur'an. Okay, surah number 91. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.